Q&A event. My name is Anna Mari Panthorpe and I'm your host. As always, welcome, welcome. So glad that so many of you are joining us these days on all the various platforms. It's very exciting to be getting questions coming in from all of those different handles that we have and seeing the engagement grow. Now, today we are going to be focusing on how to sell experiences, not rooms, with Damien Knowles from Occupancy Accelerator. Now, although this has been kind of geared towards the tourism and hoteliers kind of industry, I really feel like we're all going to get something out of this because being able to sell experiences is important no matter what you do. So I'm looking forward to the content today, and I'm looking forward to your questions. So depending on what platform you are joining us from, you can engage with us in a number of ways. So you can use the Q&A function or the chat function here on Zoom, or any of the comment fields on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. I'll be checking those out throughout the whole session, and we want to get your questions answered because that's why we do these sessions. They're for you. So if you've been joining us on the live platforms, do remember you don't get access to a lot of the special offers and the competitions, including website builds and all kinds of good stuff, tablets, phones. There's been so many great comps, but if you're not registered to Digital Boost, you miss out. So that's digitalboost.co.nz. And that's it from me. Thanks, Damien. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hello.
Hello. Look, this is a bit of a great session just because last week we had Prino on and they were like, oh, there's this guy, Damien Knowles. We work with him a lot on this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I know his name. I'm doing something with him. When is that? And I couldn't figure it out. And then as soon as I got off the session, I had a look and I was like, oh, it's next week. So I'm really glad that you're here today. This is perfect.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here too. I mean, when we booked this in a few months ago, I thought everyone would be busy with tourists, but it's actually really good timing to start thinking about.
Preparation, like success is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And we know this. So having our ducks in a row is super important. And maybe this is the perfect time to revamp or, just kind of up our game. So I'm going to stop my video, but I'll kind of keep my mic on to let you know that your share screen's working. And then I'm going to jump into the back.
Great. Here I go.
And we've got a winner. Perfect.
Passed my first test. All right, well, welcome everybody. Really excited to be talking about this, how to sell experiences, not rooms. And I'll get straight to it. I've got quite a lot of slides in here and I'll kind of be going through. If you do have questions, do throw them out there and we'll see if we can answer some along the way. So what I do, I help hoteliers increase their occupancy rates. And I also work with a lot of other tourism operators because, as you'll see, the two things kind of go together. And specifically around direct bookings, because the more direct bookings you get, obviously the more money, instead of relying on other people to bring you bookings. And I also really love to get those direct bookings by selling experiences, not just rooms. And I have a system that I use, and this will make sense soon, but the 5 piece profitable bookings are these. So what is your product offering? Like, what is your property? What is the thing you do? What is your value propositions? What are you really good at that you can own, that you're better than your competition? And who are your customer personas? A trap we can fall into is trying to cater to everyone, when in fact we should really narrow down on who we're really good at serving. And then you've got your digital presence and your precision marketing. What I often find, and you'll see in this process today, is people kind of jump to let's do some ads or do some things, but they haven't gone back and look at the first 3 Ps, looking at what's the product offering, the value proposition, and the customer persona. Because once you get that nailed, your job becomes a lot more compelling and a lot easier. So let's get started. And this is what I'm going to start with. Not Will Ferrell, but nodding heads. So not before, or maybe before this, I worked in London for 7 years, and I was doing some work in an advertising agency, and I was working with this guy called Peter, and I showed him some work that I was doing for Land Rover. I was working on some ads, and he said, "You're not going to get nodding heads." And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Peter. Peter was known for two things: this amazing 70s hairdo that he'd had since the 70s, and crafting really good words that sold stuff. And he'd won a lot of awards for that. And so I was working with him. We're working on Land Rover. And he said, "You're not going to get nodding heads." So he went on to talk about the work I'd started with. I was thinking too much about the utility. I was thinking too much about the product, right? There's a lot to talk about in a Land Rover, but actually, what does the Land Rover enable? What does it enable to do? What is its value propositions? Who are the people that you're talking to? So while you've got your product, you've got to layer on top the value propositions and the people, because where we ended up together was here. We were selling an experience. So we ended up doing a whole series of ads around what a Land Rover can do for you. And we sent people out to Namibia to experience it and to go see these very endangered leopards and cheetahs. So completely flipped it away from motors and wheels. And I'm using this as an example because you'll see how it translates into tourism. Because when you sell an experience, it gets heads nodding. It's much more interesting. It's like, "Oh yeah, that's what I want. I agree. That's so great. That's what I want. How much is it? Sign me up." As opposed to, nothing special there. So how does that apply to accommodation? Well, this is quite common. The picture of my property with an empty car park that I took on my iPhone, and it's my homepage image. That's a product. As is this one, huge car park. As is this one, an empty street. Or the very common bed and 4 walls. A classic. So it's not exactly hashtag material, right? And here's one question for us to begin with. Do you have a product photo on your homepage? Now, this can be in tourism or whatever, but do you have a product photo like that instead of an experience photo of what it enables and what people can do? Shall we see if there's any out there? I've got a yes. Yeah. Well, I guarantee probably 90% of people have a product photo. So how to show an experience really easily. So go from this to this. This is exactly the same property. That's where they are, right? They're right there amongst the beautiful Bay of Islands, and that's a completely different experience. It's all of a sudden far more exciting. And then location is a great one around base camp, but then also what are the activities that you enable when people stay with you? You know, these are the things that people are coming to do, looking to do. When they land there, how are you going to grab their attention and say, this is what we offer. We can help you. We've got packages, information, local knowledge. You know, you don't need to keep searching. You found us. It's nodding heads. That's what I want. I want those adventures. I want those experiences. So just as no one ever Googled Sydney hotel that has a bedroom, and you'll see why I'm using Sydney as an example in a moment. So this is the Hyatt Regency Sydney. They've just spent $250 million on their revamp, they called it. And wow, look, this hotel has a bed and pillows, an inconveniently placed mirror up there. Great, $250 million. And that is the photo they are leading with on social media. You get a small glimpse of what's outside the window, and the rest is, you know, you don't even need it. That 10% is their draw card. So to flip it, here's what the architects used when they talk about the $250 million revamp. They talk about the rooftop bar that overlooks the harbour, and it being the only one in the city. Sounds like a much better starting point. And these are what I call actual humans. Real people are posting on social media. What do you know? They're on the rooftop bar with their drinks and their friends, hanging out. You know, they're trying the food. And when we do make it into the room, it's much more decadent and relaxed and indulgent. Now that's a lot more nodding heads. So why didn't they go out with those experiences instead of a picture of a bed? And it comes down quite simply, would you buy the product or the experience? A quick go in the chat for anyone there. But it seems rather obvious, doesn't it? So this is a trap that everyone falls into, right? The Hyatt has spent $250 million on completely reimagining their hotel. But how much did they set aside in creative thinking about their customers, building desire for what they've done? They feel like it's enough to just say we've revamped it and have people turn up. So experiences are perfect to sell on social media, and if you know how. So I'm going to use one client case study to show you how this has been applied to a client of mine called Adam. So we sold 79 room nights in 6 weeks with Facebook ads. I'm kind of starting at the end here. Those are the sorts of images and posts we had. And what you'll learn in this video, in this case study, is why selling an experience on Facebook converts really highly, and how, you know, we're spending $1 here and getting $13 back. Switching on ads before a long weekend got us 19 last-minute bookings. And over 6 weeks, we tested 150 different ads. And we got it down to 48 ads that find, attract, and then sell. And this was no discounting, just upselling and maximum profit from direct bookings. So I hope I've got your attention. So Adam is in Franz Josef Glacier on the west coast. It's a lovely spot, but it's 5 hours from Christchurch and Queenstown airports. So without tourists traveling the loop, Christchurch and Queenstown, and capturing him there, he's lost a huge amount of international tourists and what I call the internationals on tour. And they were coming to do this amazing experience, getting in helicopters, going on glaciers. But when you're talking about a local market, some of these activities are just way too expensive, and some of those businesses just can't sustain without the traffic. So he's not getting these guys moving around, doing their once in a lifetime experience. He had search nailed. He was right there at number 3. He was getting above Trivago and a bunch of others. So he was getting found by people. But and now he had a real problem, which was, how am I going to bring people to me and attract them? So he owns the Bella Vista, and he realized selling a room is not enough. He just wasn't getting that traffic. So he did something pretty brave. He created the Waiho hot tubs. So during last lockdown, he said, oh my gosh, I'm going to need to go create my own attraction, more accessible attraction. So he went and built Waiho hot tubs. Now, you don't need to go rebuild your own attraction. You could partner with something like this, or you might even already have some value propositions that can draw people in. Adam had 12 rooms in a large car park in a beautiful part of town. He needed something else. So when Adam and I came together, he joined my Facebook group. He saw me talk about nodding heads, and he said, I need to get heads nodding on the West Coast. This is where I'm at. Couples soak, stay and dine one night. Actually, it was 199 when I met him. And he had this problem, waiting and hoping to be found. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So the solution was to target your ideal customer and show them an experience they'll love. So that's why experiences are perfect to sell on social media, because they look like this. We flipped away from talking about accommodation, and we talked all about the Waiho experience, the coming and staying, the going to the local brewery for dinner. We identified who our customer persona was, couples that wanted a weekend escape, and we went and shot photography with them. You didn't get the sense that he was nestled in a rainforest setting, so we went and captured that. We got some video. And when this drops into things like Facebook and Instagram, it doesn't look like an ad. It looks like content. People start talking about it, tagging their friends, suggesting it to other people. And it goes on. And they start saying the things that you want them to say, like luxury. We should really go. Maybe sometime in June. Looks amazing. It went on and on and on. We got hundreds of comments. And also, people started recommending it in the comments, in ads. And we were also, of course, able to talk back to people. We were getting heads nodding. So, how I'm going to come back to the how. How do you do this? Well, one thing you don't do is boost posts. So boosting a post essentially takes all the people that follow you and targets more of them. So when you post something on social media, it can be incredibly low, like 3 to 5% of the people that follow you might see it. So it's awfully tempting to boost up a post, but when you're talking about tourism in particular, the people have probably already experienced you. There's probably a bit of a lag until they come back. So hitting them with the same stuff over and over and paying to reach customers that have already come, it's not so good. What you want to do is go out and find new people. So what I look at doing is creating a sales funnel, like an ad system. And that follows AIDA, awareness, interest, decision, action. So what we've found is that sort of boosting a post approach gets about 1% of the sales. And then we're in the middle of the funnel. That's when we are going out and attracting what we call cold audiences, people we never talked to before that fit our customer persona, a location of interest. And we start running multiple ads and start testing with them. And we'll get about 39% of our sales there. The bottom of the funnel is where people have seen maybe a video or a couple of different pictures. We've made them an offer. And then we go, hey, you still haven't taken up this offer. Time's running out. Why don't you lock this in and grab your spot? Book it now. And that's where we get 60% of our sales. So kind of building out the sales funnel. And so how that looks in my system is something like this. Top of funnel, TOF, we started engaging first couples and then families. Middle of funnel, engaging was like video content, like really engaging, interesting, beautiful photos. And in the middle, we've focused very much on, well, you've seen what we're about. Why don't you book this package? And then the next one was, hey, you still haven't booked that package. Why don't you come and grab it now? And so you'll see engagements, engaging lots and lots of people, getting some sales, and then getting more sales. So that was, I think, over about 2 weeks. And then we use highly targeted audiences, so that precision marketing, because once you know your customer and what they want, you can really target who you want. So we started with a geofence, like a location of interest, like within 2 hours drive, and we tried a few of those. We learned some stuff. We created some new audiences. We went out to people that had now engaged. They're an audience, what you call a warm audience, and you get most of your leads from them because they've been exposed. Then we started targeting people that were traveling, like domestic tourists going through the area. You know, when you get an ad on your phone when you're away on holiday, you're like, oh, that's kind of what I was thinking of doing. That's what we created. The more ads you run, the more traffic you get. You can teach Facebook to say, hey, I like these people over here. Go find me more like them. And it can go do that. So we did that for website viewers and people that had watched our videos. So then we test ads and we back the winners. So these 2 photos we ran for months. Even at the moment, we've only introduced a 3rd photo because we found these 2 sold the most. They converted the most highly. The top-down aerial and our couple. So that is a Bella Vista, a motel that created an experience-led package and sold that. We led with that. So we sold 38 soak, stay, and dine deals. Most were upsold. So we went with that 229 price point, but when they went through the website, they thought, well, maybe I'll upgrade my room. Maybe I'll stay an extra night. So we ended up with 79 room nights in total, 57 hot tub bookings, and over $2,000 in brewery vouchers. And the return on investment, has been phenomenal because we've engaged about 30,000 people for a cent. For every $1 we spent, we're getting 13 back. And the long weekend thing is also really key. When you get good at digital marketing, you could say, oh, I've got some spaces coming up this weekend. Why don't we bump up our budget, get out to more people, fill those spots? So that's the sort of stuff that you can turn on and dial up straight away, as opposed to traditional sort of advertising. And there's other great benefits that I like to focus on, which is try to avoid discounting. So I talk about packages, but really they're bundles, because if you put a package together that solves a problem, looks really desirable, people are much more likely to grab onto it. If you target the right people, they leave awesome reviews, you get happy customers. It's this great circle that keeps going round and round. And of course, Adam is super relieved. He gets to enjoy what he does best, which is hosting his guests. And we're just getting started. So probably a rhetorical question, but do you want more bookings? So I've looked at 10 experiences you could offer. So create that experience, show it, and tell it. So see if there's any in here that you might be able to use for your business. Basecamp. It's pretty easy. Often an accommodation was set up for a purpose because people were coming to see something. So make it super clear that you're that base camp for people. Come here. And that's very similar to location, location, location. Right? Do you have something potentially that no one else has that you can talk about? And here's some more I prepared earlier. So the active explorers, a known trend, particularly after the first lockdown, was people wanted to get out, explore, get on their bikes. And Tourism New Zealand has shown that walking and cycling are still the top 2 activities for Kiwis to do. So even if you say, come stay, do some jet boating, include something that's free. Because if you package that up, accommodation, an activity, and then there's walking trails, cycling trails, you've given people more things, but you haven't raised the price. Stay and play. This is Awesome Adventures Hokianga. Not a client of mine, but someone I admire. They came up with stay and play. They weren't drawing people to them. So they came up with this concept of, all right, let's go invest in some toys, and people will come to us, and they did. And they talk about your adventure, your way, which is really nice. Niche interests, also doing really well. So things like horse riding, activities like that, have actually, I talked to one operator that actually has doubled the amount of people they serve since COVID, all from domestics. So who can you pair up with? What is a niche interest? And that could also be things like dark skies. It could be astrophotography. My hairdresser, who I haven't seen in a while, he went to a sword making retreat with his mum. I mean, I didn't even know it was a thing, but he had to book in advance. And of course, a Te Ao Māori experience. So this is Waka Able Tasman, some of you might be familiar with. They were 100% overseas tourists and have completely flipped it to 100% domestic, because they add something that a lot of us want, particularly, let's say, families with kids, that the kids often know more about Te Ao Māori than their parents. So they begin their trips with a blessing, a karakia. They talk about etiquette. They talk about the waka. They talk about journeys. And conservation story. So this is a jet boat company that I helped in the last lockdown. And they had the only license to go into a beautiful untouched part of Fiordland, or just south of Fiordland. And they had a whole bunch of other tours, but this was the one to focus on. They had an unfair advantage, a beautiful, amazing conservation story where they went into the forest. They were doing trapping. People could walk through untouched nature. If you've got an amazing conservation story, how do you incorporate that? And that unfair advantage is also key. If you've got something like Minaret Station, where you can only get there by helicopter, talk about that. And then, of course, what we're seeing through Adam, relax and recharge is huge. You've no doubt seen hot tubs going crazy. People want to get out of their lockdown. They want to relax. They want to recharge. So focusing on those is also a really good option. And no doubt the same is going to happen when Australia comes out of their bubble, right? Sydney side is going to want to escape. So yeah, looks great, right? So those are all things you can talk about instead of talking about your rooms. And in that case, why I say I often work with hoteliers first, but also operators, is they all kind of go together because you can share what you're doing. So yeah, that's what I prepared for you today. I do have, you can do some Q&A soon, but just while I'm here on my screen, I do have a Facebook group where owner-operators have joined, and I put in a lot of my content, like the webinars that I've been on, the content that I create, and things like I've done one around Tourism New Zealand, how to create family deals. I've done ones around how to make sure your website converts and people don't get lost, how to get reviews through using QR codes, and how to think about marketing as a conversation, similar to the nodding heads. So that's where I put all my stuff. And as I see things happening and with my clients, that's where I put it. So
fantastic. I think what I love the most about this session is just seeing the resiliency of folks out there and just realizing, hey, look, okay, I might need to do some pivoting here and there to adjust to the new market. But I also liked the actual hope of the fact that you can do these things and they can be successful. And we haven't really we haven't really discussed the difference between like boosting or like actually promoting like an ad. And I think that was really valuable to me. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's actually just going to go to the same people like that. Why would I, if they haven't bought it now, why would I, keep sending it to them? So I'm really grateful that you put that in this session. Now, if you folks have questions for Damien, if they're about your business, yeah, here we go. Thanks so much, Damien. This has been good. I'm definitely going to join your Facebook group. Cool. Yes, please join his Facebook group. I think there's strength in numbers, and you can really get some good insight on the daily and just be a little bit inspired. I think that we all know that this industry has been kind of hit the hardest. I've seen some really cool things happening out there. Zip Track Eco Tours in Queenstown. I interviewed Trent Yao from there, and they've done a lot of pivoting on how they run their business, because it used to be really a lot of international tourists. So they're a zip line company, and now they even do weddings up on these zip lines, so Kiwis are going there to do weddings. They've hooked up with photographers. They've done a lot of like YouTube kind of stuff to draw people in, which has been really cool. And did I hear, I feel like Rotorua, Treetops, they've done some cool things too. Are you familiar with what they've been doing?
Yeah, they've got some really good recognition recently. Yeah. Time magazine, I think, top 100 things to do in the world.
Yeah, because I think that they were really hit, like they were completely closed, and somebody had recommended to me to touching base with them when we were doing our fireside chats with small businesses, talking about how they've kind of changed the way that they were doing business in order to get themselves off the ground. So here we've got a question: what are our responsibilities when using photos of people on our pages? Great question. So,
Well, some good questions there, I guess. If you take them, then and you commission them, they're yours, obviously. I've used ones from past guests where you ask for permission, because often if you've given someone a good experience and you say, look, I'm trying to get a bit more traction and I want to run some ads, can I use this photo? I haven't had anyone say no yet. Also, Tourism New Zealand, like those Bay of Islands photos, those are all 100% free in their visual library that you can download. So if you just search visual library Tourism New Zealand, you can go in, it's got every region. And then usually your regional, like Southland or Northland, Taupo, they all have their own visual libraries as well. And they're very underused. So if you use them on your website, you'll probably find that your competitors aren't using them.
There's is that Pure NZ or Pure New Zealand? They've got like lots of free pics too.
Yeah, 100% Pure New Zealand. Same thing.
It's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did this the other day. I thought it was two separate things, and it wasn't. I'll get it eventually. It'll be all right on the night, as my mum said.
Oh yeah, it's internal audience versus external. We do 100% pure to the world.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Tourism New Zealand here.
Cool. So another question here: if every hotel is selling the same experiences, how can you get people to choose your hotel without showing the rooms and facilities that are the same that everyone has?
I mean, I'd need an example, to be honest. I haven't found anyone that's selling the same experience. I mean, usually if you're experience led, you're standing out. So how I might structure something is like tell a story of here's the experience. So lead with what people are coming to stay for you with. So for Adam, that was hot tubs, and then we did brewery, come have dinner, and then we ended with the motel. We didn't show the beds, actually, we just showed the exterior. And I'm doing one in Fiordlands, the cheapest campaign I've ever run. It's costing 0.04 of a cent for someone to watch this slideshow that we've made, where we start on the Milford track and talk about the things that you see, and then we have a photo of the room and the breakfast. So we've been able to reach 30,000 people for like $29 or something. It's unbelievable. So tell a story that you can still include your accommodation, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And we talked about this. If you didn't, I was just looking for that site actually to put a link in the chat, but I can't seem to locate it quickly enough. So we were talking about storytelling and heroing, telling a story in all of your marketing, whether it's personal branding or your business. And that was with Krupa Patel from The Attention Seekers. So if you're looking for a little bit more advice on how you would go about that and like the stages you can take in order to develop that story kind of telling stuff, then have a look at those sessions that we've been running with her. One was called The Hero's Journey, and the other one was called Content and Authority, I think. And that was all about what you're talking about, like creating that experience. Like it's like, yeah, I'm selling a product or I'm selling myself as a service, but really you want to hear about, I want to tug those heartstrings a little bit, and get you engaged and get you to love me, and want to work with me. And I think that's great.
Yeah. A good way of looking at that is how you talk when you meet someone. So, from a hotelier's point of view, they never say, I've got lovely beds and white walls. They talk about what they do and what they enable and where they are. And that goes even for you as a personal brand or whatever you're selling. How do you pitch yourself or talk about it at a barbecue even? And if you wrote down the top 3 things that set you apart from anyone else with that one-liner and you took it to your website, is that what it says? Chances are it doesn't. You're probably talking about all the wrong things. Or you're talking actually more about yourself. So that the classic is, people talking about, for hotels, talking about their building and when it was made and how they've renovated it. And you're like, I don't care. I can see from the picture what it looks like. Yeah. What can I get out of it?
Yeah, like think about, like, you're not selling to yourself, you're selling to your customer. So what does your customer care about? What questions are they asking? Okay, so there's a couple of comments and this ties in. Laura said, great information, thank you, although I'm not a tourism business. And this is what I totally thought about this session. My POD is all about the experience, not just a treatment or product, which in my industries is my industry's usual focus. Transferable stuff and valuable learnings. Thanks. Yeah, cool. That's what I thought. This session it's got lots of value beyond tourism. Obviously, like, that's the focus, but I think that we can take these and just apply it to every industry. Question here from Belinda, are those ads you're promoting for Bella Vista with the hot tub also Instagram ads?
Yeah, so you can run on both platforms. You don't even need to have an Instagram account, actually. When you run Facebook ads, you can push, and you can push to every single format. So, those ads you get in Messenger, like that. And you can even, push them out to third-party websites if you wanted.
We've been doing actually really delving into the world of messenger marketing because it's a really hot item. We did a session with IzzyBots recently about that. If you wanted to check out what he had to say, and he's got some more sessions coming up. So check those out, because there's some really great click-throughs that you can put in so that people can automatically be buying. Another question here, could you talk about the follow-through on how people then book the experience? E.g., we're in the Bay of Islands. If we linked with a fishing charter boat, would we have to do the bookings or just set up the contact details for the guests?
So either, it depends how integrated you can get, but you can definitely sell that as a package, like, come stay with us, do a charter. And as soon as you get that booking, you say, oh, great, thanks for your booking. What day are you thinking of coming out on the charter? I'll check availability right now. Or, and however your process is that. But ideally, you want people to have a book now function.
Yeah, like, you always want to have that next call to action, right? Like, oh, they book your room and now you book your charter, and then it's all locked in. Right.
And on that messenger side, another thing we're testing at the moment with another client is, she does retreats. We're sending lots of traffic to her webpage, but she wasn't getting the bookings, and we didn't know why. Now, her website is quite complicated, and it'll take time to update it. So instead, we're not sending people to her website, we're sending them into Messenger. And so then she can actively have a conversation with people. Yes, I'm interested in the retreat, tell me more. She can tell them more, she can send them details. And then we get to know, much like that fishing charter one, you could do it that way as well.
I think that's a great point. There's 2 great points there. One, if it's not working for you, figure out a new way to keep that contact going. And 2, how complicated is it on your website to actually book? Because clicks, we know that if it takes more than 3 clicks, they're gone.
Yeah,
and exactly. That's really like on your front page of your website, you should have a call to action there. Book now, like, just right there in your face as soon as you land on the page. That's what I've been told by, like, everybody who's come on here. If you have to try to go to another page to book, like, no, it's too many. Like, you can still have all those other pages. Those other pages are important. It's important for your SEO. It's important for, details that we're looking for, but like always having constantly places where they can click book now, book now, book now, not like 20 on one page, but you know what I mean? Like, if you've got one at the top, maybe you've got one at the bottom as well. Like, keep redirecting them to that next journey, that place you want them to go, whatever that is.
Yeah. And exactly. And that follows, I call AIDA. So you want to, when you get some onto the website, you want to grab people's attention, but you also want action, because they might know what they want, or they might be returning. So they need a book now. But then you've got that sort of interest and information level. So you grab their attention, now build their interest with that sort of summation of who you are. And then you can build desire. And that can either be through packages, it can be through photography, it can be through social proof, like people saying, I've loved staying here, and then action again. So it's like taking people on this journey, like, oh yeah, I love that. Oh, tell me more. I want it. Bye.
I love it. This has been so helpful. And I always find it so interesting when you've got huge corporations that have this huge marketing budget, but then possibly miss the mark. I'm a little bit cheeky, like where I'm like, oh, they're human too,
Yeah, well,
just those hotel pictures where we were looking at the rooms, and you go, oh yeah, like it is a good room, but like that doesn't make me want to go there necessarily,
no, exactly. And I guess that's the difference for me. My background is I did actually come from that big brand world in New Zealand, Land Rover, British Airways, those sorts of brands. And there's the sort of frameworks we use. So when you bring it down to a small business, it makes a huge impact because no one else is doing it.
Now, I've got a question for you. Bedrooms are, have a lot of connotations going around about them. If you wanted to feature, say you have a little Airbnb and you're watching this, and your room does have a bed in it and it is nice, but we want to have an experience element to it. But maybe putting a person on the bed, like, relax. Is that a bit too sexual? Or like, do you put like maybe some things around the bed, like a teacup and like a, stuff like that? Or what is that?
I mean, I think you can always have the bed photo, right? But it's like the hygiene factor. Yeah. It's not something I'd lead with. The best room shots are like inside looking out. So like, what does it look like on the outside? Oh, you've got a deck, you've got a great view. There's seating outside, or large windows. If you look at like Hermitage or Minaret Station, they're very good at doing inside out photos.
That's such a good point, isn't it? Because really the whole time you're in a place, you're looking out. You're not kind of, like I love
exactly. And you go out onto the balcony and look at the view. I mean, most accommodation is, even the last Airbnb that I stayed in, they called it, it was called the peak view, and they ran with the picture from their deck. So I'd look at it that way.
Yeah. I've had some interesting experiences with Airbnbs where sometimes the picture is like amazing, but you're right next to the freeway. That does happen as well. Make sure you're being honest with your clients, because you can't get rid of those bad reviews.
Yeah. If we have time, I can show one more thing.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Thanks, Damien. That's great. I'm gonna pop over to the other platform really quick and just like check out, because we did have some things happening there.
All right. I'll just see if I can connect to here. So
looks good.
Yeah, I'm on the iPad now. It's great. So the way I look at things, and this can apply to any business, is you need three things. You need people to be able to find you. You need to attract people, and you need to convert them. So, if you start at the ends there in the convert side, that's your website. And when people get there, you need to grab their attention, let's say with a great picture and their hot tub, a description of what you do, and then, how do I get this? What's the package? And you want to split people off. So you might have couples, families, groups. So straight away, here's a couples deal. What I call like a core offer, like the one night, the 229. Like most people will grab that, but then there's your opportunity to upsell. And you put in your social proof, people that stayed there and loved it, and book. So it's almost like you don't need more than 3 pages there. Homepage, direct them to where they want to go, take the money. So your website needs that flow, and it needs to think about those customers. So that's kind of the end point, converting people. But finding people, that's usually the sort of the Google. And when people search, you want to come up here, it's relevant. But also in tourism, you want to make sure you're above booking.com and all the others. You want to be here, and you want to make sure your price is the lowest compared to all of those, which Prino would have talked about. You need to set that all up properly. But the biggest one I find at the moment is you've got a smaller customer pool. So you need to attract. If you want to get more of your share of the pie, then you've got to do some attract. And that's why today I mainly talked about the Facebook ads. These are the 3 sides that I do: find, attract, convert. So that is, dropping into people's worlds with an idea. So people are always looking for travel, they're always looking shopping, they're always online. How can you give them an idea of something to do? And where they go, let's do that. And drive them to the page that matches. You'd actually drive them straight here. Because search, that's a bit different. That's intent. Because people have in mind what they want. So you need to be easy to find. So once you get that set up properly, it goes pretty well. You've just got to keep up monitoring that you're still turning up, you're still easy to find, and that your links, are all going to the right place. The biggest place to focus at the moment, I think, is on attracting people. And to do that, you've really got to think about those 3 Ps. What is your product? What is the thing you have? What is your value propositions? And who you're talking to. And, if you're talking to couples, you need to talk about the romance, you need to talk about the experience, the escape of getting away. If you're talking about families, you need to talk about the things that the kids can do and the problems you solve for families. So that's how I look at it. So final minutes, any final questions?
Man, that was so great. That was like, it's some of my favorite part of the whole session, even though I love the whole session. But I'm a real visual learner. So when I can see a breakdown like that, it really helps me to clarify in my mind that I've understood exactly what you're saying. And also I really liked that breakdown of the couples and, okay, I need this and this, and then I take them here. And I bet like all of our digital boosters are kind of sitting there nodding their head right now going,
nodding heads.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay, I can see it now. I got it, but now I have like a process. That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no sweat.
Yeah.
I could probably do a whole nother webinar just on that.
Maybe we should. let's have a chat about that like offline. I'm just checking in on all the things. We've got people watching, but there's no questions coming in. So
All right.
I think we're good. Oh wait, oh yeah, terrific. Thank you. Yeah, all capital letters too. I love that because it was that good. Okay. Oh wait, hold on. We'll just double check. Thanks so much. Very interesting. Yeah, it really has been. I think, yeah, if you've got time, yeah, we'll try and book in another follow-up session at some point and kind of delve
Great.
into it a little bit more. That'd be fantastic. Thanks, guys. Thanks for everyone for joining us today. I hope you're all staying well. Just as a little public service kind of thing, not public service, but like public service announcement. Here's an announcement. Digital Boost is paired up with Clearhead, and Clearhead is a mental health app. If you need help right now, or in the future, and you're a digital booster, you have access to this service for free. It has access to getting a hold of counselors. It also teaches you coping mechanisms and skills. We know that these times are tough on small businesses, and we care, and Clearhead cares. So do get in contact with support@digitalboost.co.nz if you need access to any of that. Yeah, so thank you, Damien. Thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you're not losing your mind in your bubble, and because you've got teacup humans. Yeah, you've got small humans. So I hope your whole family is well, and we appreciate you. Just okay, there's the Facebook group is in the chat. Thanks, Damien. Thanks. Digital support. I'll type that in here for you. I'll send that to you, Tavita. But I'll say Kakite now, and I will stay online. So I'm just going to stop the recording, but I'll get you that information about Clearhead. Okay, so Kakite.